The year was 1971. It was a time of change and uncertainty, a period marked by the echoes of the past and the whispers of the future. The world was evolving, but in the small, unassuming town of Harrisville, Rhode Island, life seemed to move at a slower, more deliberate pace. In the quiet town of Harrisville, Rhode Island, nestled amongst rolling hills and whispering trees, stood a farmhouse. This farmhouse, with its weathered wood and creaking floors, was a place where time seemed to stand still. It was a place where the past lingered in every corner, and the future seemed a distant dream. Unremarkable from the outside, the house at 1677 Round Top Road held within its walls a darkness that would soon capture the attention of the world. Its exterior, though aged and worn, gave no hint of the malevolent presence that lurked within. It was a house like any other, yet it was unlike any other. This is the story of the Conjuring House, a story of a family terrorized by unseen forces and the paranormal investigators who dared to confront them. It is a tale of fear and courage, of the unknown and the unknowable. It is a story that has been told and retold, yet it never loses its power to chill the spine and stir the imagination. For those brave enough to delve into the unknown, the house stands as a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. It is a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin, where the past and the present collide in eerie and unsettling ways. It is a place that challenges our perceptions of reality and forces us to confront our deepest fears. But before the fame, the movies, and the countless paranormal investigations, there was a family. A family like any other, with hopes and dreams, joys and sorrows. They were a family seeking a new beginning, a fresh start in a new home. Little did they know that their new home would become a place of nightmares. A family who called this house their home, unaware of the darkness that awaited them. They moved in with high hopes and great expectations, believing that this house would be a place of happiness and peace. But soon, they would come to realize that the house had other plans. It was a place where shadows moved in the corners, where whispers filled the night, and where the line between reality and nightmare was blurred. As the days turned into weeks, the family began to experience strange and unsettling events. Objects would move on their own, doors would open and close without explanation, and eerie sounds would echo through the halls. At first, they tried to rationalize these occurrences, attributing them to the quirks of an old house. But as the events grew more frequent and more disturbing, they could no longer deny that something was terribly wrong. The children were the first to sense the presence of something malevolent. They spoke of shadowy figures and whispered voices, of cold spots and unseen hands. Their once happy and carefree home had become a place of fear and dread. The parents, too, began to feel the weight of the darkness that surrounded them. They sought help from friends and neighbors, but no one could offer a satisfactory explanation. Desperate and frightened, the family turned to the only people who might be able to help: paranormal investigators. These brave souls, armed with their equipment and their knowledge of the supernatural, entered the house with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. They knew that they were stepping into a place where the normal rules of reality did not apply, where the boundaries between the living and the dead were blurred. The investigators conducted their research with diligence and care, documenting every strange occurrence, every unexplained phenomenon. They interviewed the family, listened to their stories, and tried to piece together the puzzle of the house. What they discovered was a history of tragedy and sorrow, a legacy of pain and suffering that seemed to have left a mark on the very fabric of the house. As the investigation progressed, the investigators themselves began to experience the strange and unsettling events that had plagued the family. They heard the whispers, saw the shadows, felt the cold touch of unseen hands. They realized they were dealing with something far beyond their understanding, something that defied explanation and challenged their beliefs. In the end, the story of the Conjuring House is a reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding, of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead. It is a story of fear and courage, of the unknown and the unknowable. It is a story that continues to captivate and terrify, a story that will be told and retold for generations to come. And Carolyn Perron, along with their 5 daughters, were a picture of American normalcy. They were the epitome of a happy family, full of love and laughter, and their bond was unbreakable. The Perrons were excited about their new beginning, a fresh start in a new home that promised endless possibilities. Full of hope and dreams of a brighter future, they purchased the sprawling farmhouse in the winter of 1970. The house, with its rustic charm and expansive grounds, seemed like the perfect place to raise their children. The snow-covered fields added a touch of magic to their new abode, making it look like a scene straight out of a storybook. Little did they know their dream home would soon transform into a waking nightmare. The house, which had once seemed so inviting, began to take on a more sinister appearance as night fell. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and the once comforting silence of the countryside became oppressive and eerie. The family, initially charmed by the house's quaintness, began to notice strange occurrences almost immediately. At first, these incidents were small and easily overlooked. A misplaced object here, an odd noise there. But as time went on, the occurrences became more frequent and harder to ignore. Subtle at first, a door creaking open, seemingly on its own in the dead of night. The sound would echo through the silent house, sending chills down their spines. It was as if the house itself was alive, watching and waiting. The scent of perfume in an empty room, a fragrance that none of them recognized. It would linger in the air, a ghostly reminder of someone or something that had once been there. The scent was both alluring and unsettling, a mystery that they couldn't solve. These incidents were easily dismissed. The family tried to rationalize them, attributing them to the quirks of an old house. They told themselves that there was a logical explanation for everything, that their minds were just playing tricks on them. But as the days turned into weeks, a palpable sense of dread began to settle over the house. The once warm and welcoming atmosphere became heavy with fear. The family could feel it in the air, a tension that they couldn't shake. It was as if the house was trying to tell them something, to warn them of the danger that lurked within its walls. The Perrons were not alone. Unseen forces seemed to be at work, manipulating their environment and preying on their fears. The family began to see and hear things that defied explanation. Ghostly figures would appear in the background of their photos, and disembodied voices would whisper in the darkness. The Perrons realized that their dream home was haunted, and they were unwitting witnesses to its dark secrets. The paranormal activity escalated at an alarming pace. What started as faint, almost imperceptible disturbances soon grew into a cacophony of inexplicable events. The air grew thick with tension, and the once silent nights were now filled with eerie sounds that sent shivers down the spine. The family could no longer ignore the signs. Something otherworldly was at play. Objects moved seemingly on their own, defying the laws of physics. Chairs would slide across the floor, books would fly off the shelves, and doors would slam shut with no apparent cause. It was as if an unseen force was making its presence known, asserting its dominance over the household. Disembodied voices whispered from the shadows, their words unintelligible but filled with a sense of dread. The whispers seemed to come from every corner, echoing through the halls and rooms, creating an atmosphere of constant unease. The family could feel eyes watching them, even when they were alone. And the children reported seeing apparitions. Ghostly figures would appear at the foot of their beds, in the hallways, and even in broad daylight. These spectral beings were not just fleeting glimpses. They were vivid and terrifying, leaving the children in a state of perpetual fear. The once welcoming atmosphere of the house had become heavy with an unseen menace. The air felt thick and oppressive, making it hard to breathe. The walls seemed to close in, and every room carried an aura of malevolence. The house, which was once a sanctuary, had turned into a place of torment.
It started very slowly, very subtly. At first, it was just a feeling, a sense that something was not quite right. Shadows would move out of the corner of our eyes, and there would be cold spots in the warmest rooms. We tried to rationalize it, to find logical explanations, but deep down, we knew something was wrong. But it escalated to the point where we were absolutely terrified. The occurrences became more frequent and more violent. We would hear footsteps when no one was there, and objects would be thrown across the room with great force. The fear was palpable, and it consumed our every waking moment. There wasn't one room in that house that we felt safe in. Every corner, every shadow seemed to hide a lurking threat. We would huddle together, seeking comfort in numbers, but even that did little to alleviate the terror. The house had become a labyrinth of fear, with no escape in sight.
The Perrons found themselves trapped in a terrifying reality, their lives turned upside down by the relentless hauntings. They sought help from experts, but the paranormal activity only seemed to intensify. The family was at their wits' end, desperate for a solution, but the house held them in its sinister grip. Their idyllic home turned into a prison of fear. The walls that once echoed with laughter now reverberated with cries of terror. The house, which was supposed to be their haven, had become a place of nightmares. The Perrons were left to wonder if they would ever find peace again, or if the unseen hands would continue to torment them forever. Desperate and at their wits' end, the Perrons sought help from renowned paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens, known for their work on cases like the Amityville Horror, arrived at the house ready to confront the unknown.
The house was like a beehive of negative energy. There were entities there that were not at peace.
The Warrens, armed with their faith and a collection of paranormal investigation tools, began the daunting task of identifying and understanding the unseen forces tormenting the Perron family.